as you know, this is being recorded and you guys will get the presentation and the audio once it is over with. Okay. So let's see what we got going on in the chat. Mhm. Oh, nice, Peter. Nice. All three of your daughters be home for Thanksgiving. I know that's right, Annabelle. With all the uncertainty, thankful to have a job. That's very true. Destiny, family and friends, family. Ah, Kylie, my husband supporting me no matter what. Joseph, I'm thankful to be working for my agency. Yeah, a lot of agencies have had to lose staff, which is unfortunate. Sorry about that. My twin grandbabies, Barb. All right, you have girls or boys, or one of each. Family or friends. Aderica employment, yeah. And Jamie is saying my family. Yeah, it's important to kind of hang on to friends and family right now with everything going on, so you can have that support. Okay, so I am going to do a quick roll call. And as I'm doing the roll call, I hope that you guys did some homework that I sent out. Let me just run over it right quick. So we were wanting you to look at what quality looks like in your agency and talk about how your agency currently defines and measures quality in weatherization. And then another question I sent was from data to action. Think about a decision recently that was made at your agency, big or small, and reflect on whether data was used to guide it. So as I call the roll, I'll give you some time just to kind of answer those questions from the homework. Okay. Okay, so Barb, and Barb, you have to tell us what the gender is of your twin grandbabies. Are they
Um,
girls, boys, or one of each?
it's one of each. They just turned a year old in September, so
Oh, nice.
yeah,
I don't I don't have any grandbabies yet.
these are our first. So
Oh, is it as wonderful as they say? Is
it
it as
is.
wonderful?
I think the best part is like watching like my parents and my husband's dad with the babies, and
Oh,
just kind of seeing that little. It's a reminder of when you had kids, and yeah, so.
oh, goodness, goodness, goodness. I bet. Goodness. Okay. Do you want to just briefly share your reflection on quality and then from data to action?
Um, I think the data to action was a little easier to identify. Um, Strictly because of the funding, issues that have been occurring. And so we have been using data from the last year just to kind of illustrate to whoever we are, having conversations with that, this is why we're doing these things, and this is the amount of people we're helping and what we're doing. And so it was nice to kind of use that to tell the story, um,
Mm-hmm.
why we're here. So um, I think the quality is a little bit harder sometimes for us, um, because we're a smaller team, and where you would think that would be easier, um, sometimes you just don't have enough to kind of spread everybody out as much. So um, I think for us, it's just trying to make sure that we are communicating what the needs are for each program.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes we forget that, just because I'm reading CSPM every day, I mean, everybody else is. So yeah, I think we're trying to add things to, when we're meeting, really keeping it, straight and to the point, and making sure we're kind of, you know, checking those boxes, I guess, for
Mm-hmm.
making sure the communication is there to increase the quality and make sure that we're not missing anything.
Mhm. For sure. That's really important. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Hey, okay. So my next person, Annabelle, would you would you please share with us your homework piece, what quality looks like at your agency and the data from data to action?
Okay, well, for our quality, well, we do a lot of cross training. So there's always checks and balances. So that would be what quality looks like at our agency, because we always start to, you know, make sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, but there is like certain people that have cross-trained for certain things. So if something's missed, we take it to that person. So that kind of keeps us to on par to make sure that our quality isn't diminishing. So
Mhm.
cross-training for us is huge here, to keep up, to keep the quality going. And as far as data to action, I'm gonna piggyback on what Barb said, just because we recently just got our new deputy director. And so when she was monitoring my program, or kind of like wanting to get to know my program and stuff, I had to refer back to data from the past, to kind of like, she wanted to know how many units we had done last year, and then how we got from point A to, where we are at with all those projects that we did kind of last year and stuff. So that would be my data to action item. You're muted, Keisha. Oh,
Thank you. Sometimes I forget and I just go to talking. So thank you. Mr. Joseph. Well, Joseph, before we let you talk, maybe you can send me a chat. For some reason, I'm having a problem emailing you. Every time I email, I get a bounce back.
I was just going to
So
bring up that I was looking through my emails and I hadn't gotten anything from this, which is
e- every
I
time.
I get your emails for the multifamily course,
Hmm.
but I've never gotten one for this course for some reason. So I'm not sure.
Uh, you know, it just send me, if you could just send me an email.
Sure. Yeah.
And then, I'll try to research it and see what's going on.
Okay. I'll do that right now. Um, can you give me a brief reminder of those questions?
Absolutely. What does quality look like at your agency? And then from data to action, think about a decision that was recently made at your agency, whether it was big or small, and reflect on the data that was used to guide it, or if data was used at all to guide it.
Okay. For quality, I think it would be sort of what Annabelle was saying. We also do cross training where possible on things, which is coming
Hmm.
really useful right now because we haven't been able to do anything with weatherization since July 1st.
Mm,
So they've had me processing LIHEAP applications, and our intake specialist for weatherization has been able to help out our housing counseling program. Um, so everyone's just always open to being able to learn new things here, and the environment that we've created is one where you can feel safe to do those things, and also to not be afraid to question anything. Because we got our new LIHEAP guidelines that were sent out to the head people, and
mhm,
all they made sure all the caseworkers got those policies and procedures as well, and were able to look through them. And I was able to find something in there that we had misinterpreted,
mm,
that I was able to bring up, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you're right." So we were able to improve because we have an environment where you can talk to higher ups if you see a
mhm,
problem, and there's no attitude of, well, we know best. So that would be our quality. um I don't think we've had any situations of using data to make a big change recently, other than seeing we were very behind on LIHEAP applications and I wasn't doing weatherization, so they moved me over to that, which I think was a positive change for the agency.
Mhm. That's a wonderful thing that your agency was able to pull you,
Mhm.
over so you could help in other areas while,
Yeah.
you were waiting in your area to come together. So that
I
is
still
a
wait.
good thing. Yeah, well, and I'm so sorry. It's just one of those things.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay. All right, Miss Kylie, how are you today, ma'am?
Hello, I'm okay. I hiked up the steep side of a mountain yesterday, so I'm a bit sore.
You did what? Say that
Yeah.
again?
I I hiked up the steep side of Mount Wachusett in Princeton, Mass, and I'm a
Oh,
bit
wow.
sore. I haven't done that before.
Well, let me
Um,
applaud you because wow.
totally on a whim. I just wanted to see the aurora borealis, and it didn't even come really. So
Oh, goodness.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, no, a little
okay.
disappointed, but um so in terms of the quality control, I mean with our clients, of course, we have our QC manager that would, make sure all the work done was done well, and if there's ever any like consistent errors with a vendor, we keep tabs on it, and we typically would try to avoid using that vendor for certain jobs. So like if they're not good at, I don't know, doing like asbestos, we typically would boot them out and we would get a different company to do it. Um,
Mm,
and then within our, own company, just kind of keeping an eye on each other and having, regular meetings between individually director, the managers, and then the individual worker employee. And then we would also have a monthly meeting of all of us all together and just, go over all of the data and see where we're doing really well and where we need to improve. And then from there, we would, take action.
nice. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, Peter, you want to would you mind sharing with us? I believe you have the most seniority out of all of us, right? 37 years in weatherization?
Uh,
Correct me.
38 years and counting.
38. I was
38
close. I was close.
and counting. Quality. So Friday mornings, tomorrow morning, we have all of our techs and we just have kind of a tech roundtable where we talk about how to do things better, keeping track of all the different contractors we use and trying to be very proactive about working with contractors who aren't doing quite as good of a job as they need to and finding ways to help improve the work that they're doing. And then going from data to action, and Kylie's going to appreciate this. In Massachusetts, we have a statewide data platform, which, again, Kylie, correct me, but it's 100 for each client. It's 190 columns that we have to track different data points. Sometimes I think we have quantity of data over quality of data, but the intent certainly is to try to find ways to better articulate how quickly we're getting to clients and how better we're serving clients, and certainly how we're tracking funding across the state. So a lot going on in data.
Oh, okay. And congratulations again on your agency with your activities for Weatherization Day.
It was
I
great. Kendra was able to join us. It was so much fun. I was really excited about it. So real quick, so Weatherization Day, we met at a client's house. We had actual weatherization happening. Kendra Baldwin came from your organization. It was a fantastic day. Even the rain kind of just made the whole thing better.
yes, yes. Well, good. We were on behalf of NCAP. I'm sure I can speak for Kendra. We're happy to be there to partake in the festivities with you. Okay, so I'm gonna, for the sake of time, I'm just gonna, I will turn it over to Aderica fairly quickly for her to introduce John while I continue to take roll. If I did not call your name, although I see some names in the chat, if I did not call your name, would you please mind putting present in the chat for me? So that way you are accounted for. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you, Keisha. Well, hi again, everyone. Happy to see all of your faces again. And I'm pretty sure most of you are familiar with John right now. We really enjoy working with him at NCAP. He brings a lot of great information. I love the analogies that John brings to this work, and I'm really excited about what he has in store for us today. So without further delay or hesitation, John, I will hand it off to you now.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to start in today. In the first principle, we're going to look at two principles in the time we have together. We're going to look at two principles of quality improvement. And the first one of those is the idea of continuous personal improvement. Because we're, as leaders, we're not going to be able, and managers in our roles, we can't improve the team or the process if we're personally and professionally stagnant ourselves. And so we want to look at ways and a couple things that are going to continue to move us forward on a continuous personal improvement. And so the next slide, as we start looking at it, we find here that we want to be challenging ourselves to always be seeking to be a better version of ourselves. And that's not just a kind of a nice motto, a just nice, like, hey, I'm just trying to be a better person. But it's really putting the work in to see that accomplished. And some of that comes into some of these personal disciplines, like implementing New Year's resolutions. The thing about New Year's resolutions for a lot of people, myself included, is that I've already got my list for next year because it's the same list from last year. I just need to change the year. And so a lot of times, and I might have checked off a couple things, but by and large, we have a habit of, hey, I still need to work on this. Oh, I need to do this. I need to be better here. And if we sit down, kind of like we take that kind of self-assessment at the end of the year and say, hey, what have I been busy about? Where can I do better? It doesn't take as long. We can kind of hit some of those things. And what we want to do is say, okay, what do I do about this? How can I get better? Who do I know that's better than this at me? Who do I in the workspace? Who do I know that they kind of have a good grip on this? Maybe I can pick their brain. Maybe we can collaborate together so that I can learn from them. Doesn't they may be a peer. They may be someone that's someone that's above me in the organization. They may be someone who works below me, but I just realized they just have a better handle on it, and I can gain and learn from them. Some of the other things that in the role of managing people and managing systems and managing programs is that we got to make sure that we're also able to manage ourselves. And that's not just in these tasks and, hey, I answer emails or I follow up on this or I keep track of that or I'm doing this reporting. But in situations, am I able to manage my emotions? Do my emotions get the best of me? Do I find myself, because of that, when my emotions get the best of me, then my reactions or my facial expression or my tongue also gets the best of me? And so it's going to be critical that as we're in a space of representing our team to leadership above us, representing our agency to the community around us, representing both our team and the agency and our programs to those that may be influential as far as lobbyists or political figures, whether they're local or at a higher level. We want to make sure that we are representing ourselves well, that we don't let um, present ourselves poorly, not just from the way I look, the way I carry myself, but the way I speak, the tone I use, the tenor of my interactions, the way I'm reacting to things. It should be something where people realize that I'm very invested in the agency, in the programs, in the community, but also in each of my team members, not as a support to my ego, not as a support to my mission, not as a support to my advancements in my work and career, but I'm interested in them and making sure that they can be and achieve all the things that they have the potential to reach. And so some of this is this continual personal improvement. there are professional certification opportunities, webinars, podcasts, trainings through NCAP like this, and other places where we can seek and say, okay, I need to improve here. And this training may not be required, but I would really benefit from it. And you could even begin to interact with your supervisor or with someone there to say, hey, is this a training that we could do or I could be engaged in to enhance my ability on a professional level, not just the personal, but also me professionally continuing that improvement. You notice on the slide here that it kind of has a kind of an artist's kind of view of like a thumbprint. And the reality is, I want to continue to improve myself personally and professionally because my work is going to have my fingerprints on it. And when people come back and look through, they want to be like, oh, that's because John was here. Or it's like, hey, if you want to work with someone where you want to work, you want his fingerprints in your work. You want his fingerprints or her fingerprints. You want them involved. You want them to be present. You don't want it to be like, ah, I know what the problem is. You see this fingerprint right here? It's John. John was a part of this, wasn't it? John was involved in this. And we don't want it to ever be where my fingerprints being left on a project, on a program, on a personnel interaction, that it's one of those things where the problem is really with me. So I always want to be looking at ways to continue to improve personally and professionally so that I can be at my best to help those that are above me and below me also be at their best. And part of that in the next slide, as we move to this one, is continuing in personal and professional improvement. And that's going to help the overall quality of what we're doing, our process, our procedures, our productivity, our programs at large, all the way up and down that chain of impact is going to be how I manage people. One of the gaps that we find is that people are really great at a task. And because they're really great at a task, they get moved up into supervisor, they get moved up to management. And sometimes what happens, they get into that position, they find that there's a gap. There's no one there to show me. There's not like a playbook. I went from being like a player to being a coach, and I know how to run the plays. I don't necessarily know how to call the plays. And so part of this is we want people to not get in the weeds, and we're going to look at a couple things in a little bit here, not where you're so overly involved that people can't do it, or you're so removed that people, they can't find you for any help. And both of those are a kind of a pendulum swing that occurs in this gap of management understanding and training when you go from kind of in the weeds doing it to being pulled up to supervising, because at that point you need to be able to not just know how to do it, but know why we're doing it and where we're trying to get to, the long game goals. And so that's going to be a part of our personal and professional development, is learning how to pull up out of the task management into more team management, more program management, not just a client project, but we want to start looking at program. In order to do that, we have to have the team around us that we can delegate with confidence. They're in a place where we're helping them be at their best so that we can hand it off and know it's going to get handled. Part of that is this concept here of mentor management. And that's where there are different aspects. Like part of mentoring is providing kind of general guidance. Here's where we're going, here's what's going on, but letting people do the task, let them fulfill their roles and responsibilities without me always stepping in and fixing it or redoing it, or I don't like, giving proper structure so they know what the parameters, what the goals are, what their longitudinal latitudinal realm is, so that they have the operating information so that they can make clear decisions and not always have to run to me or run to someone else and say, oh, I've got to go ask the boss, I've got to ask the manager. And it's constantly asking questions that they already have the answers to, but they've just not been empowered to take the actions that are within their job descriptions, that is within their roles and their responsibilities. And part of that is there in this mentor management, we're not so far removed that we're not involved, but we're not so all up in the business that they feel like we're doing it for them or they can't ever do it or ever learn. And so some of this is going to be up close personal coaching, where it's kind of like you're like, if you talk about like a gymnast or whatever, and so you may say like, here's the hand position, here's when you and you rotate, here's where you're going to release. When you release, you need to start tucking, you need to start turning, you need to carry that momentum. And then as you open up, here's where you're going to grab again. So there's going to be some of that up close here's step by step how we're going to do this task. Here's where we're going to do it, why we're going to do it, where we're going to store it. So they know very clearly what's going on. Once they have a handle on it, there comes a place where we begin to step back and we begin to be more of that for the same gymnasts. Now they're doing what they've been coached to do, and we're more the person back there, kind of the spotter that has the that landing pad. Like when they're going to go off course, you just, and I find them people amazing. They can see like split second, they slide it there, and the person lands safely on the mat rather than crashing onto the ground. And so you'll begin to be able to find where you can pull back, and then it gets to a place where they can walk tight ropes between skyscrapers without a net, without a rope, and they've got it. But it doesn't mean you're not going to be there to watch and support them. So all along the way, this mentoring is you're going to step in, you're going to step back, you're going to evaluate, you're going to communicate, and you're going to help build them into, and so they can also be on their continuous personal improvement to reach their great potential. The next thing we're going to kind of slide to is on this idea of where micromanagement and micromanaging, when it stops being a training tool and it becomes a trademark. Chase Counts with Greenbound, we were talking one time and he brought this concept up where micromanaging is a form of coaching. And there are times where you're onboarding new staff when you got a new process or new procedures, and you might need to go step by step, sit next to them at their desk, walk through, here's what we're going to do, click here, click there, until they've got it. And then once they've got it, we can step back. Part of the problem sometimes with micromanaging is people are so, some of it has to do with insecurity. And they're insecure in their own role now as a manager because they're not sure what I'm supposed to do. I'm used to doing the task. Now I'm watching people do the task. What am I supposed to do? And they don't feel real secure about their job because they haven't been mentored by their management into here's your new role. Here's the things you need to be working on. Here's the things you need to be focused on. Here's the reporting I'm going to need from you. Here's the activities I need from you. And they're just kind of like, hey, manage this. You know what you're doing. So now you should by default know how to manage, but they really need mentor. They need that coaching. They need that guidance. And so there's a danger where that insecurity can cause them to always be falling back into what they're comfortable, where they know what to do. And so they're always in the weeds with the team doing it rather than letting people do it. And they're no longer, it's no longer a training tool. It's a kind of a personal crutch where it's just their trademark. They're going to come in and they're just going to do it, and they won't give anybody space to grow personally so they can excel. Others, it's just they're just control freaks and they just need to learn to let go. They need to do some social distancing. They need to do some workspace distancing where they just need to step back and like let people do their job. That's their role. That's a responsibility. They have the capability. If I've mentor managed and coached you and brought you along, I should be able to turn you loose and not have to worry about you. But some people, they're just control freaks. Some are insecure, some are control freaks. Some that's just the way they've been managed, and that's what they think management is. Micromanaging is a great tool within coaching. There comes a point where you don't want to be the trademark of how I handle people and situations. Because micromanaging, there's a couple of things that are debilitating about it. One, micromanaging doesn't allow the team to rise to the demands that are around it. Because if you always have to be involved in every little task, you limit your scalability. You limit not only their potential, you limit your department's potential, which means you limit your program's potential, which means you're by default limiting your agency's potential. Why? Because I'm so worried about these little details that I'm always up in the business of things. The other thing is it's going to limit the productivity. If I'm always involved, there's only so much I can do. But my team, they can do so much more than I can do by myself if we can do things together. And I'm just more there to give some guidance along the way. We also find that by micromanaging, it's going to limit the manager, supervisor, leader, whatever term is associated with that leadership role. It's going to limit your vision to where you can't see the forest for the trees. You can't see the trees for the bark because you're too busy picking at the bark at a task level, and you don't see the tree, you don't see the forest, you don't see the mountains behind the forest because there's too narrow focus. So not only does it limit the scalability, the productivity, the development of the team, but it also limits our ability to grow as leaders because we're too narrow in our focus. So those are some of the things where the mentor managing utilizes micromanaging to a point, but only as long as it's necessary. There comes a point where you can't stand all day at the microscope looking down and saying, "Oh, well, this is this little detail. You need to move around the office. You need to move on to bigger and better things and planning what's coming up ahead." The other thing as we move forward is the opposite of that. So you have the sweet spot is the mentor managing. The pendulum can swing away from this to where we already talked about the micromanaging and where we're way too focused and how that limits the team, it limits their personal development, it limits the ability for you to scale and to grow and to take on other challenges. It also limits you personally where you can't rise and begin to focus on the leadership role that's yours. The opposite of micromanagement is macro management, and that's where they're unaccounted for. The thing that's interesting about micromanagers that are always in the details, when things fall apart, they're quick to separate. Their micromanaging is all the way up until there's a problem. Then it's like, hey, well, I told them to do this and they didn't do it. The same thing happens with macro managers that are always at a distance. They're always ready to show up for an award. They're always ready to show up for accolades. They're always ready to do a board report or whatever else and show successes. But as soon as there's a problem, they're like, hey, I don't really know, but all I know is that so and so is supposed to be responsible for this. The mentor manager assumes responsibility and accountability for the team and realizes that I'm the one that's guiding this. I don't know. I may not, if this detail, there's a lack here, there's a training opportunity. We're gonna grow the team, but that's on me. And so that's where the mentor is really there to be not just inspirational, but be directional in like, here's where we're going. This is what's going to be happening. What we find here, this as you see the caption here, an open door to an empty chair. And that's the way the macro manager is. They never seem quite available to provide the assistance you need. The micromanager, you can't get them out of your way to get your job done. The macro manager, when you need them, you send an email, you send a text, you went to the office, and days go by, no answer. You follow up, no answer. And then finally, like, oh, yeah. By the way, here's this. And sometimes it's less than helpful. Sometimes it's exactly what you need. It's just where you been. I needed you 3 days ago, 3 hours ago. And the same thing begins to hinder our scalability, professional development, and our impact. One of the things you find about this idea of the macro manager who's always kind of away, there's three things, and I need to kind of hasten along here. And that is the macro manager leaves his team or her team unsupervised. They're just not there. They're MIA. They're missing in action. You're not sure where they're at. So they've left the team unsupervised. Because of that, there is the element when the cat's away, the mice will play. There's also that when the lifeguard's not there and there's an emergency, who's jumping in the water? They've left them unsupervised. The other thing is the macro manager, because they're not available, they're not just leaving them unsupervised, but they're leaving them unsupported. They're not there providing the support they need. They're not there giving the guidance. They're not there giving the answers. They're not there giving the help. They're not there giving the praise. They're not there promoting. They're not there giving correction as needed. They're just missing. They're missing in action. Because of that, they leave them unsupervised. They leave them unsupported. This kind of management style, this kind of ignorance is not bliss. To be ignorant of your team's strengths or your team's weaknesses is not bliss. But if you're actively involved as a mentor manager and you're involved in their day-to-day activities and what's going on, you can see strengths, you can see weaknesses, you can see where if you team these up, they can help build each other. You can also say, hey, they could benefit from this training to strengthen this weakness, or we've got this new project. I think so-and-so would be a great candidate to lead the team on this because of their strengths. But if I'm absent, I'm just kind of out floating around. I'm too busy running all over the corporate, and I'm not focused on my team. Then they're going to be unsupervised. They're going to be unsupported, and the other thing is they're going to be unconnected. They're going to be unconnected to me, and so because of that, people don't follow leaders they don't trust. People don't trust others they don't have a connection with. And if I'm not around and I'm not a functional, helpful part of their work life, then what personal connection do they have? And which means what real trust do they have? If I've not been there before, will I be there when they need me? Or is the lifeguard chair going to be empty? It's great to have open door policies, but if they come to my office and they find an empty chair, they can sit in it, but it's not going to give them the answers. And so what we find here is there's a balance. And so as we want to, the first part of quality improvement is making sure I'm improving myself and working and managing in a way that I can help improve those that are a part of my team as well. And I think this is going to shift us over to our first breakout session.
It is. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and send us to our breakout rooms. And you can see there is the questions. If you guys want to like, I don't screenshot, the questions. So you guys will be able to know what the conversations are about. I will be in one, Derek will be monitoring one, and so will John. So let's see. Give me just a moment and I will have you guys in your rooms. All right, give me one moment. Okay.
I just wanted to say hi to Armando before I bounced, but hope you have a good rest of the session, Keisha. I think it started out great. I recognize people are, having scheduling issues, and that's to be expected. So do your thing, and we'll connect probably tomorrow, unless you want to connect later this evening if there's anything you need from me, but keep going, lady.
I'm good so far. I'm good so
Okay.
far. Okay.
All right. See ya.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. What happened? Are you not in a room?
John and I were in the same room.
Okay, so let me see. It's saying they'll all close in 4 seconds. I don't know what that means. Why? Let me see.
Oh, wow, everybody
There,
is
oh
coming
my
back.
goodness. Okay, so I was just kidding. We're gonna try it again. That was a test.
We passed.
Oh,
That's what I was going to say, that pass.
yeah, I was just kidding. Okay, we're gonna try this again. All right, so you'll have about 10 minutes in the room. All right, there we go. All right. Okay. I believe that is it. Armando, you just missed Mia. She wanted to say hey, but you missed her. So I'm saying hello for her.
Welcome back, everyone. It looks like John group isn't back yet. John and his group.
So that means they have a lot of exciting stuff to talk about and share, right?
Yeah. So we'll
Or,
have them go first to report out.
I was
or
gonna say,
look, or it's me on the techie side and I didn't do something right. Oh, okay, good.
Okay.
Okay,
Welcome
good.
back. We all decided collectively as a group that you all must had a lot of exciting conversation taking place. So we only have, due to time, around 5 minutes for a debrief. So John, let's hear from your group first in this area. I don't know if you guys have a person that's going to speak to what you talked about, but I'll hand it over to you all.
I'll let one of them volunteer if they'd like.
I'm happy to unless Annabelle would like to jump in. We talked some about different communication styles from being blunt to not being blunt enough and different techniques to try to bridge the gap for those of us who are not direct enough to some of us who might sometimes be slightly more straightforward than they intended, and trying to figure out where that kind of that sweet spot is to articulate things in a way that people need to hear it, and understanding that different people may have different ways of hearing things as well. And I don't know if John, if I missed anything there.
Very good.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to add regarding any of the 3 questions from any of the groups?
Recording in progress.
Anybody? Okay, well, if not, then I will turn it back over to you, John, to keep us going.
If you guys don't mind, can you mute? I believe it's that echo.
All right. So the moving into the second part of this, we're going to look at the second principle, and this isn't an exhaustive list. We're just covering 2 principles of quality improvement. And the first one we talked about continuous personal improvement, and the next one is continuous team improvement. One has said that the task of a leader is to get his people from where they are to where they have not been. And so that's where we, as managers, supervisors, as peers, whatever our role is, where we're working with others around us, we want to not only continue to grow personally, but we also want to be growing the team so that we are getting to places we've not been. We're farther along in our journey, both personally and professionally, but also helping others on their journey. And then our collective as a team, when we're in the workspace and we're within the program, we're trying to help others. We're trying to change lives. We're trying to make our programs impactful. That in doing that, it's going to require not just me growing personally, but us, whoever's in that department, whoever's in that division, whoever's on that team, that we're growing also, and there's continuous team improvement. So we're going to look at the next slide. We're going to kind of put it into 2 sides here. Trust is the cornerstone of effective teams. And this is something that we kind of touched on earlier with like micromanagers or macro managers, that there's either they're overconnected in the wrong ways or they're underconnected. And through that, it doesn't create a strong confidence I have to delegate, confidence that the person delegated, that they are truly trusted with the project, that they're trusted professionally, they're trusted personally, they're trusted with the task. But then and otherwise the flip of that was the macro manager who's not around. So you don't really get the feedback. You don't really have the support. You don't really have the guidance. And because of that, you're not sure what's going to happen. Am I getting it right? I'm doing my best, and so it erodes this trust and this real connection. Trust allows genuine collaboration that's both unguarded and vulnerable. we can say, hey, we're gonna meet as a team, we're gonna collaborate, but genuine collaboration that just happens amongst team members, whether it's supervisor to the person being supervised, whether it's across the team, if we've been honest and we're being humble and we're being consistent and we're really working together and we have trust, it's gonna, because I trust them, I can be really honest. I can really be humble. I can really say, like, hey, I'm having a struggle here, or hey, I feel unsupported here, or hey, I think you could do a little bit better here. And it's not taken as got you, it's not a jab, it's not a cut. I'm not kicking out the ladder. It's very much, as a team, we're trying to be at our best. And because of this trust, then we can really collaborate on a level that's more than just, hey, I got this done. Here's the baton. You take off running with the project. It's more than just task collaboration. It's real team collaboration where we personally trust each other, are supporting each other, are promoting each other, that we're quick to, being a name dropper, whether as a manager, as a supervisor, as a leader, but just as a person. There are those that you've been around, they drop names so that they're connected. Oh, yeah, I was with so and so. I was talking to so and so. I texted so and so. I heard from so and so. It's like, uh-huh, uh-huh. That's great. And then there are those that are the ones that are going to go out and, oh yeah, well, I talked to so and so. It's like, really now. But if you're going to be a name dropper, drop the names of those that are around you about how great they're doing, how they've improved here. What I saw here, did you know? Oh, they had this idea. So and so had this idea. If, as a manager, supervisor, team leader, team partner, whatever the role is, if I'm quick to share that Joseph had this really great idea, and I think we should do something about it. Joseph's more apt to share his ideas. It's not going to undercut me as a manager, because if those that are over me hear me point out someone on my team brought an idea that I think is a great idea, that's not a bad look for me. But I want to promote this trust that people know, like, hey, I bring an idea, I share something that they recognize. They're not going to just steal it for their own glory. They're not going to steal it for their own credit. They're not going to make me a rung on the ladder of their own success. But they're really in this for us together, and they want to see me growing. And so I'm going to give that buy-in. They're going to give that buy-in. They're going to want to be a part of that team. They're going to want to be a part of that system. So there is honesty and humility and consistency and genuinely unguarded, vulnerable sharing. And what happens is, when that's happening, there are those that want to be a part and those that don't want to be a part and that wind up seeking a transfer. And then you find there are those that want to get in. Hey, when you have an opening in your department, you let me know, because I want to be a part of what's going on there. It's about having this team improvement, because there's real trust that creates real, genuine collaboration, not just the buzzword of collaboration. The other thing is, for a team to be effective, there has to be synergy. It can't just be that we're all doing better, we're all continually improving as individuals. That's great, but it all needs to come together. There needs to be this synergy where it's aligning. We're aligning the team efforts for the immediate task. We're aligning the team efforts for the long-term goals. And by doing that, as we realize we're really coming together, we know what we're doing, we know how to do it, but also we know why we're doing it, what the long-term goals are. That it's not just, I'm just at the grindstone, just plowing away, grinding every day, but I know where we're going, what's going on. I'm a part of the vision. And when that happens, it gives a sense of purpose. And also, when we're working together and we partner up, and I'm given tasks that are outside my comfort zone, but I know I can trust. It's not a stretch opportunity outside my comfort zone so that the manager can point out how terrible I am so they can get, but they are giving me this opportunity to grow. They're giving me this opportunity. They're going to be there to support me. They're going to be there to strengthen me. They're going to help me accomplish it. Then it promotes a sense of confidence, even in where I'm weak, even where I'm coming up short, even where I know I need developed. But it's because of trust and this synergy, the team improves because we have a sense of purpose and a sense of confidence. I'm not isolated. I'm not on my own. I am growing. We are growing together and improving. And so, with that, as I'm able to develop um, personally in these areas and we developed collectively, my ability to deliver my program, whatever that is going to rise to a better level. And because of that, the impact, the desired outcome in the lives and families that are affected and assisted through our efforts is only going to get better. It's only going to be stronger. And so these are things that not just grow as a person, but make sure we're growing as a team. The next slide, as we move into the next one here, and as you might have noticed, can we go back to that slide real quick? Can we go back one? One of the things about the imagery on here, you'll notice that in both sides of this, that the hands are gathered. They're hands that are shaking. They're standing hand in hand together. It's not an individual. They're, like the old saying, there's no I in team. They'll be like, oh, well, there's a me. Only if you rearrange the letters. You have to go out of your way to get me in a team. But the reality is we're in this together. And so we move to the next slide. Thank you, Derica. Um, this one here is we want to create space where the team is challenged, not always just in our comfort zone, not always defaulting that, hey, Peter's really good at this, Annabelle's really good at this, Keisha's really good at this. And so when we get a project, they always get that task. They're just really good at it. We're just going to always default to them. Well, why not let Keisha try it? Why not move Peter over here? Because Derica's really good at it. Peter's done it some. She can help him along the way. If he runs into something, she can help. And by doing that, we allow people to try new things. We allow them to find ways that they might grow. But also in growing in these stretch opportunities, we're doing it in a way we're not asking them to go free solo climbing. You'll notice that the image here is at a rock climbing place. You've got support, you've got harnesses, you got ropes. If you get weak, you get tired, you can't find the next placement, you're not going to die. You don't need to chalk your hands and fall to your death. Like, it's a safe place to do it. And in the workplace, as a team that trusts each other, that's working together, we can go about things differently. So it creates those opportunities where people can try that new, they can get a new task, but someone's going to be there to help them. It's not going to be like, oh, you're terrible at this. You failed again, but rather finding ways that the team can be stretched, but they know that they're in a safe place to do it. They can try it. They can try it again. Someone's going to be there to see them through it. Because if we're not stretching the team, we're not improving as a team. And as soon as one person leaves that was really good at it, Peter was really good at it, but Peter won the lottery and Peter's gone. So now what? Joseph never had a chance to try it because Peter was so good at it. And I'm picking names because these are the ones that are in the faces I can see. So if we stretch and give people opportunity, and there's someone there that can support them along the way, and Peter's not worried about me putting Joseph here so I can get rid of him because he's been 38 years and I'm worried about paying his retirement. Like, no, we trust each other. We know that we're just simply working at this to expand all of our collective knowledge, our collective ability to support the program and serve our communities. And through that, if something happens, he wins the lottery, then we have someone who has some experience who's been growing. And it allows in place not just that we have documentations, and we should have documentation for roles and responsibilities, our processes and procedures, so that if something happens, triumph or tragedy, someone else can step in and easily be onboarded or fill for a small season that role. But by doing this, we also create that redundancy that's not just in paperwork, not just in a process, but we have redundancy in the team that if something comes out and they're away, someone else can step in and say, hey, until they get back, I know we're starting this new project. He's busy on this one. Until I can get it at least started, we can get rolling on this thing. So we want to create spaces where the team can be challenged and it's a safe place to fall. I didn't say fail. I said a safe place to fall because falling, and you go to rock climbing places, you can tell looking at me, I'm not doing any rock climbing. But like you go to these places, it's a safe place if you don't make it to the top. And so it needs to be a safe place for people to fall. And then we're going to help them try again. They didn't fail, they just didn't make it to as far as they wanted to. So we're going to help them find that next placement, the next foothold, a better pathway to get to the top. So moving forward to our next slide. And this is going to be a portion of kind of a continuation of this team improvement is providing, making sure we have the trust, make sure we have that buy-in, make sure we have that organic, natural collaboration that only comes because we can trust and be honest and vulnerable. When that's happening and we're able then to do these stretch things and people will share the secrets, like in carpentry, there were the old carpenters who didn't want to teach the new carpenters how to lay out stairs, how to lay out rafters, because if I taught you, then I've kind of lost my competitive edge in the marketplace. So once we've been able to get past that, because we are a team that's built on trust and we know we're supporting each other, then not only is it a place where we can do these stretch opportunities where there is the opportunity to succeed, and if you fall, you're not going to fail. We're just going to show you how to get to the top so you can succeed. When that happens, we'll find that this next concept here is along that line of synergy and bringing it together. We want to be improving as individuals, but we also want to be improving as a team. And this idea here, some of you may be familiar with kintsugi, and it's as you can tell by the bowl here, it's a kind of a Japanese art where you take a broken bowl and with a lot of times it's precious metals like gold or silver or other things that you begin to put it back together. And in a lot of ways, the finished product is better than the original product. And one of the things I want you to take away from here is you don't necessarily always need a whole new team. You might have the right pieces. They might just need a little bit more training. They might need a little bit more developing. They might need a little bit more mentoring, might need a little more coaching. You might have the right pieces. And as you put it together, you'll find that this synergy, this collaborative spirit that pulls us together, this what I call the golden glue, because it's the gold that's been melted and put into these things that fastens together. That even where there's gaps, there, the perfect bowl, there's no gap. But between one piece and another, it may be a gap. Between my skills and your skills, there may be a gap. But because of our synergy, because of our teamwork, because we're growing as people individually, but growing as a team collectively, this synergy is going to fill those gaps. It's going to pull it together so that we're able to meet the needs, serve the purpose. And so with this, we want to make sure that we're not just growing and checking boxes. Hey, they've been certified here. They're doing better here. From your last performance review until now, you're better as a person. But as supervisors, as managers, as leaders, as we look at the team, how's the team doing together? What's the level of synergy? What's the level of coming together? And how can I promote that? I've got these pieces. Am I aligning the pieces correctly? Am I making the investment? Am I putting that golden glue there that's going to pull it all together so that we're able to collectively accomplish the task at hand? And just like this piece of pottery, this artwork, it is not only, I think it's fascinating to see how it's been done. It is very attractive, but also it accomplishes its intended purpose. And so it is with our teams that we can come together and we can really accomplish in a very attractive way and exemplary way how to serve our communities, deliver on our programs, work together as people. I came across I saw I think it was a sweatshirt, um, and I think it said humankind, and then underneath it said be both. And that's one of those things that here, like we want to be both. We want to be human, we want to be kind, but we want it to all come together. And so it is. We want to be professional. We want to be, but we also want to be personal. We want to be a team, but also we want to be productive. And when it all comes together, um, this synergy allows for your team to really be rising to its best, both personally and professionally as individuals, but also as a collective team, which is going to lead us now into our next breakout session.
All right. All right. All right. John, this is some good stuff. Some good
Thank you.
stuff. All right, so the next one, how does trust and delegating with confidence align in the workplace? We'll do the same thing, and hopefully I will do it right. I will do it right. Okay, I'm going to do this. And da, 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 da. Okay, that's done. All right.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. So, again, for this round for debriefing with the large group, let's start with the first question. And anyone who wants to answer, feel free to come off a mute to share either something that you shared in your group or just report out on this question. So the first one is, how does trust and delegating with confidence align in the workplace? Anybody want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll make a comment. Well, like I had mentioned earlier, I think that, trust and having trust in your employees goes a long ways. I mean, having your employees feel empowered by themselves and the training that they receive makes them feel more confident in what they can do. But also you as a manager overseeing a supervisor overseeing staff, cross training, what we do here is we cross train everybody to do every measure that puts everybody on an equal playing field. Nobody feels like they're not as skilled or they're not able to do jobs because we do every job, every individual. I think it empowers us all to know that we're all important and that, any one success is part of all of us being successful as a group, as a network, as a team. But empowering individuals, having them train in every aspect so they know they're just of as value as everybody else, right? Having one crew that just, like I mentioned, do insulation only, that gets to be a tedious job once you got the basics down. But I mean, doing water heaters, working on HVAC systems, doing electrical work. We try to cross train everybody to make them all feel like we're all equal here. We're all empowered to help do the good job and giving them the training they need. Like John said, not being the macro manager to where you're just there for the accolades, but being there during the bad times, the down times, right? Right now is one of those times that we are staying strong as a group. Unfortunately, we had to furlough people, but we have committed to individuals that once we are back open, we are calling everybody back. We're a family. We take care of each other. And our goal is not to necessarily make changes because of this that happened. No, it's to bring all our guys back, everybody, all my staff, so we can all get back to feeling comfortable that we can live our lives and go out and continue doing our job and living the mission that we're here for, right? People helping people. And that's what we continue to do every day. We have roadblocks that come, but we always have our mind focused on the end. Our end goal is to continue to provide good services that we all do to the people that need it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Armando, for sharing. And then one more. In what phase of Kintsugi do you see your team in, and where do you go from here? Any volunteers for that one?
You might have to pick a Derica.
I didn't answer.
Well, myself, this was a new term for me, so I had to learn what it was. Um, so, but I don't know, Peter, do you want to say anything?
I'm just going to say when we're through with this, just take 2 minutes and Google it and look at the images. It's stunningly beautiful. It's taken something that was probably beautiful before, was broken, and reconstruction is yet more beautiful than it was before.
Yes, yes. The bowl was really beautiful. Okay, well, John, I think we all are finished with debriefing for this session, so I'll hand it back over to you.
All right. Yeah. So that the process there of kintsugi is, I would recommend look at some of the images. That's really fascinating. And wherever you are in bringing that synergy and pulling the team together, whether you feel like you're just looking at a bunch of pieces, whether you've got some of them together and you see the gaps and filling that in, wherever you're at, just continue forward in continuous personal and team improvement, because it is when it's done, it's fascinating. It's truly good. And it's not just something that you look at. There's another term, if you get a chance to go look it up, is Kaizen. I think it's Kaizen. And it's the idea. And so the two of these things, this synergy and Kaizen, they kind of blend together. And then we're going to kind of shift here in a second. But and what that is not just pulling the pieces together so they're able to serve their function, but the idea of Kaizen is looking for where the bottlenecks are, where the restrictions are, where the flow is stopping, and then taking assessments. Okay, how can this better work? So both of those concepts are not just for individuals and team as people, but it gets into what our plan, our process, our procedures, our policies, reevaluating, reassessing these things. So we're not just doing it because that's what we've always done. It's been like that for 10 years. Is it relevant to today? Is it relevant to the current team? Is it relevant to the current program? Is it relevant to the current application of the agency's mission? We haven't changed who we are, but programs have maybe changed the way we do some things. And so that's what we're going to shift into next. And this next slide and this next section is moving and talking about synergy, but synergy and synchronization. You'll notice in the picture here, there's a lot of people clapping hands. If we could go back one, please. There we go. There's people here and they're around, they're gathering, they're clapping. And you ever been at somewhere and there's the person who's just a little off time? One of the best things as a kid was when my one aunt would lead in happy birthday, and it wasn't quite on tune. It wasn't maybe quite the right time, but it was full of joy and it was full of love. You know, you almost, as we got older, me and some of my cousins, you'd almost like call for so and so to lead it, not because it was going to be great, because it was going to be good. You know what I mean? There was a full lot, it was a lot of love and plenty of laughs to go with it. So as a team, we might be all pulled together with trust, with that, you know, organic collaboration. We're all supportive. We're all in this together. So that's happening, right? So we have that kind of human element of where, you know, we're all pulling together. We're all pulling in the same direction. We do have someone that's a leader, not a manager or boss. And you've probably seen the picture where it's a picture of the boss and they're sitting on the wagon that everybody else is trying to pull or push. And then you've got the leader who's out at the front helping to pull. And so we might have all of that going personally and as a team. But if we're all clapping just a little bit off, there's something that's out of sync. And so just because we have this synergy, we're all pulling together. Now we want to make sure that we're synchronized. And part of this is synchronizing is the process of coordinating the activities of multiple processes at the same time to ensure that they operate correctly, consistently, particularly when we're sharing resources. If we're going to do that, there are several things we have to know. One, I have to know what I'm doing. The person next to me, I need to know what they're doing, and hopefully they know what they need. I need to know what I'm doing. You need to know what you're doing. I need to know what you're doing. You need to know what I'm doing. We need to know what we're supposed to do, when we're supposed to do it, how we're supposed to do it, not just have all those things in part, but we got to pull it all together as a team. It's one thing for me to know how to play the trombone, how to march in time, and how to go about things. It's different if I'm going to go join a marching band. The ability for a marching band, and you talk about fascinating. You watch a video on these marching bands. If I was part of a marching band, I am not musically inclined. Everybody be going one way, and I'd be that guy heading towards the end zone on the wrong side of the field. And you'd be like, "What happened to him?" Like, that's me, because I'd be out of step, out of time, off tempo. Like, I'm like my aunt that you call to sing happy birthday. That would be me in the marching band. But because they're not just have synergy, they're all on the same sheet of music. They're playing from the same sheet of music in the right time. They're all tuned up. They also know where they're marching, and they know when to pivot, when to turn, what to do, and they do it as a consistent unit. And it allows the production of what their music and of their performance to be, even when if there's a mistake, you hardly notice the flaw because of just the fashion of it all. And so that's the thing of moving from synergy into being synchronized, that we're not just developing and we're pulling together the team, but now our process and our procedures and the personnel that are handling those things, and then the productivity that's flowing out of it, where we are helping others, we are changing lives, we are developing a process, we're developing something that's pulling together that we can deploy the services that are so greatly needed without undue delay or distraction. And so, because of that, the next slide we're going to get into is this idea. If we're going to do that, we need to know where we're going. We need to know the long plan. It's not just looking at the sheet of music, worrying about that next note. I need to know kind of where we're going, what the next steps are going to be. And part of the problem that we have is we get our grants, we unlock the funding, and we have a tendency, there's a tendency to sometimes get lost in talking about, okay, how many units have we done? How much money did we spend? And really the long end view. As you look here, we're not looking in the rearview mirror. We're not looking in the side view mirrors. It's good to have a reference of what we've accomplished, what's been done, but ultimately, I need to have a goal, and the team needs to know where we're headed to. And we want to make sure that the data that we're collecting, whether we're putting in a dashboard, whether we're pulling that up for meetings, that it is minimal critical information in a central location that we can all pull from and work on to make sure we're staying on course. It's that information that allows me that at the beginning of the grant, when I did my grant management planning, not the plan that is the document we turn in to unlock the safe to get the money, but our grant management planning that says, in order to stay on track, this is the critical path of spend, of production, and everything that interlaces along that line. This is what we need to do. It allows me to have this minimal critical information that we can look at a glance and say, hey, we are or we aren't on course. And if I'm off course, here's the steps we can take to get us back on course so that we successfully deliver our program to our communities. When that's not happening, what winds up happening is there are agencies that wind up having their funding reallocated away from their community, to another agency to use. And so because I haven't been using the data to drive to my intended objective, then I run the risk of losing opportunities to better serve or fully serve my community. In this, behind the windshield is the dashboard. On the dashboard, I want to know how much fuel I have left. It's kind of neat to know my fuel economy. But if I don't know my fuel economy, I at least want to know how many miles until empty. And I do find it amazing that I'll be driving along and I look down and it says 6 miles to empty. And I realize my average is 30 miles per gallon, which means I've got like a teaspoon of gas. And so I'm not sure how that works, but I know I need to get to the gas station. It's critical that I find a gas station like now. Um, it's helpful to know tire pressure. It's good to know if my oil's gotten low, but I don't need to know my oil temperature. It's important to have certain things. And so as you're trying to drive with data, don't put so much information that you don't know how to sort it. You want something that in a quick glance, you know where we're at. You can put your finger on the pulse and say we're healthy and strong, or we've got a problem. You also want to be able to pull up as a team, whether it's your immediate team or management above you or to the board or whatever, and in 15 minutes bring everybody up to speed and say, hey, this is where we're at. If you got to scrounge around, we might be able to do that in 15 minutes because we spent 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever it is culling information. The more of that information we can have there, we don't have to waste the time culling it because it's being collected along the process for us. And so we want to have that information out there and be driving with the data. I need to move to the next slide. I'm running out of time here. So as you can tell, I'm a talker. The next one here, you'll notice this picture, and we're looking at standard operating procedures. This is at a pool. This is what they call swim lanes. And when you get into a swim lane, you don't really have to think a whole lot. You get in the water, you're going to swim from one end to the other. You've got the little buoys to keep you in your lane, and you got a nice line across the bottom that says, this is the direction you need to go. You don't really have to think much. I get in the water, I swim. I turn around, I swim back. And so it is, our standard operating procedures should be doing those things because of the synchronizing of all the different parts, the plan, the process and the procedures and the whatever policies that need to go with that. So then I can identify the personnel who needs to be in that lane. who needs to be in this lane, who needs to be in that lane, and we can then develop out the procedures for them. They know their role and responsibility. And it's one of the things that happens here with the swim lanes with standard operating procedures is it allows the performance to be repeatable. It allows it to be consistent. It allows it to be measurable. You know that I'm swimming this line. I know if I do this many laps, I've gone this far. It's consistent. It keeps everything where I need it to be. The question I would have for us when it comes to standard operating procedures, which are going to allow us to be synchronized and have smooth operations in our delivery systems, is if three members from your staff were pulled into separate rooms and asked the same procedural question, would they give the same answer? If they're all doing it differently, we don't have a standard operating procedure. And the other thing about standard operating procedures that we need to ask is, does what's written in a book, especially if it's a notebook that we pull off the shelf and you got to blow the dust off of it because it hasn't been open for a while. When I finally open it and clear the dust and quit choking and coughing and sneezing, when I read the policy, does it even match my current program? Does it match our current team and operations? Does it align with the roles and responsibilities? Does it outline and show where the handoffs are happening, where the baton's being, or is it just like we've got it in there for compliance? It's enough to satisfy the funding source that we have a operating procedure that we've got in our grant management plan. Or is it really that which we've developed and designed and honed in that people can get in and they can go about their day and they know they can be consistent, it's going to be measurable, it's going to be productive. So I would encourage you, think about your standard operating procedures. They're a critical part of synchronizing your team for maximum productivity and developing as a team for maximum impact and quality improvement. If I asked them, would they give me the answer? A good test might be ask a few people and see what answers you get. The next slide that we're going to move to is a very different perspective. This is open waters. It's nice when if you jump in a pool to swim, you kind of you've got the lanes, you've got the marker on the floor, you just get in, swim back and forth. If you do open water swimming, you've got to find a way to navigate wind and temperature and currents. You've got to be able to know when to pull up and to sight and adjust your course according to all those elements that are at work that are kind of shifting it where it's not a lane, it's not a buoy, it's not there's all these things because the reality is of our workplace, it's not a perfect world. If anything, it feels like more like the perfect storm where everything's all the wrong things have come together and our standard operating procedure doesn't quite match what my current situation is. When my standard operating procedure doesn't quite match my current circumstances, do I or my team have the ability to pull up and sight and have the awareness and the ability to navigate the currents, the temperature, the winds, and other adversities to stay on course and to accomplish the task at hand? And part of that is when we move away from not just the synchronization, is not just having standard operating procedures, but having specialized operational awareness, where because we are as a team and we have this synergy, we have this trust, and we're working together because of that. When we get into these open water situations, we still know where we're going, but it's just going to be a little bit more difficult to get there because of the circumstances around us. Not the circumstances within the team, but the circumstances around the team that are in the situation. Is my team armed with the insight and understanding of not just what we're doing and how we're doing it, but this is where the team understanding why we do what we do, the guiding principle, so to speak, behind the procedure. My standard operating procedure was written because there's this guiding principle for that task. Do they understand that guiding principle? If they understand the guiding principle, they'll be able to adapt it within the spirit of the operating procedure, within compliance to the program, and say, okay, this is what I need to do to navigate these currents, to navigate these winds, to reach it to the buoy that I see up there that I've sighted. That's where I need to get to. Here's how I get to shore. Here's how we accomplish it. And if we're allowing and building the team and we have this synergy and we have this synchronization, there are the standard operating procedures. When these things arise, the team will be quick to begin to come up with ideas like, hey, what if we did this? I feel like this would work. And then you can bounce ideas and say, okay, that's what we're going to do. And so now you're able to operate within the parameters of the program, but we're doing it with what I'm calling here a specialized operational awareness, where you are now able to head in the right direction. You can accomplish the goal and you know that you're going to get there because you have the synergy, you have the buy-in, you have the support. You are synchronized. You are, and because you are working as a team with the typical standard operating procedures, when these things arise, you're able to collaborate. Again, you have this natural collaboration because of vulnerable trust. They say, hey, what about this? And you're willing to share with management, and management's willing to share, and you can collaborate together and say, okay, yeah, we can, this is a defensible position on why we made this decision, why we head in this direction. We can take action. And because of that, what happens in these open waters is if it doesn't quite fit the standard operating procedure, and you don't have this synergy and you don't have this synchronization where the team's pulling together and they know where they're going, what happens is you often lack the spontaneous creativity that true vulnerable collaboration generates. And you wind up with kind of analysis paralysis because you're not sure what to do. Well, maybe, and then there's a lot of fear. And if there's a lot of fear and distrust, no one wants to step out and take a path that's not clearly marked with the breadcrumbs of management. That's not clearly marked with the breadcrumbs of the operating procedure. And because there's distrust and there's discord and there's dissension, no one's willing to say, okay, well, here. But when all those elements are gone because of our personal improvement, our team improvement, our synergy, our synchronization, we have a process, then we can improvise and we can make sure that our improvisation, it feels right. As a team, you just, it's hard to describe. You just know that that's the right decision. That's the right path. And this is the way we're going to go. And you're all in together. You're not going to leave anyone stranded. We're going to stand together on this. And it just, not only does it feel right, but you can make adjustments as you're going because you know what your intention is and what we need to achieve. And so those are the things here. And we're down to, I think, the last few minutes. So anyhow, all these things come together so that we can be growing as personally and professionally, growing our team personally and professionally, growing as a team together, growing our department, the non-personnel part, just the kind of practical, pragmatic parts. So when it all comes together, and even when it all feels like it's falling apart like this, you're just thrown out in the water. You've been thrown off the bridge. You knew where you were going. Now you've been thrown off that bridge into the water. You can recover quickly, respond correctly, and achieve the objective without any significant delay or harm to the program, and more importantly, to the clients we're trying to serve. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Keisha.
Thank you, John. We always appreciate your insight and expertise. I don't know about you guys, but I learned a whole lot today, a whole lot. So what I want to do now is just kind of talk about the next cohort meeting, which is our last one. It is 3.2 and it is on December 18th, and the topic is process optimization, adaptation, and implementation of continuous quality improvement, stakeholder engagement, sustainability, and scaling. I know that's like a mouthful. So of course, I have some homework for y'all to think about. But I'm gonna do it a little bit different. On this homework, I'm just going to actually assign it to a couple of you guys. And then I want you guys that I assign it to be the ones to talk about it and reflect on it and present it to the group instead of everybody doing it. How about that? I'm gonna put you on the spot, okay? So, the first one is to identify an area for improvement. So that's where you name a process, a policy, or workflow that could be improved in your program. And so for that, I will, Annabelle, that sounds like something you'd like to do. How about that? Woohoo! Yeah. Okay. Okay. Engage and adapt. Who needs to be involved in making the change successful? And what one step could you take to engage them or test the improvement? Armando, that has you written all over it.
Keisha, I'm gonna be on vacation.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Well, how about this?
Sorry.
That's okay. I'll let you pick who you want to do that question. But Armando, I will give you that. Who needs to be involved in making the change successful, and what one step could you take to engage them or test the improvement? Don't worry, I will send you a reminder email and all that good stuff with this in it, and it'll also be in the follow-up. So Annabelle, I'm gonna give you a few minutes, a few seconds.
I'm gonna say
to-
Peter.
Ah, good choice.
However, the third Thursday of every month is my Massachusetts Energy Directors Association meeting, and I won't be back in time for the event.
Oh,
Is
Unless
it
we
Alright.
leave
possible
it.
to change the date?
um, let's see. I mean, that's always possible. Are you trying to keep it in December and go a little, because that, if we go any further, that's like Christmas, right?
Yeah. I don't know, we could do it like on the 22nd, 23rd. I mean, I don't know,
Well,
that,
okay, well, what if we pushed it up a week instead of going into Christmas?
oh, that'll work. I will be gone from the 12th to I'll be back on the 22nd, but that would work.
John, how are you feeling? Do you think you can do the 11th? Okay, I'll get with John. Okay, I'll tell you what, if I'm able to change it, I'll just email everybody and we'll go from there, okay?
John, you're muted, John. We can see your lips moving, but you're not, we
Oh,
can't hear you.
I think the 11th would work for me.
all right. How's everybody
Keisha,
else
I
feeling
do
about that?
want to note that Mia did just tell us to save the date because we may be.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. I'm not going to be available that day. Oh, let's see.
We might have to just take this offline and follow up. I can do a
Yeah.
poll
Yeah,
and
we'll do that. We'll do
yeah,
that. We'll do
okay.
a poll and send it out to where everybody, and then we'll just, we'll go from there. So it may have to be pushed to maybe like the first week in December. So we'll see. We'll see. But no worries. We'll get it done. We'll get it done.
Sounds good.
Okay, so before you guys all log off, so after we've reflected on everything that we've talked about and what John has told us, I want you to type in the chat your main takeaway or something that hasn't been said, or it hasn't been said, but it's important to this topic. So if you could just bombard the chat with that, think about what we've talked about today and type in the chat your main takeaway from all of this and share something that hasn't been said, but you think is important. Okay. I know that's right, Peter. We need to just blast that. That's yes. Yes. Yep. Absolutely agree, Joseph. That's right. Yeah. As always, we appreciate you. Be looking for the poll from Aderica. Send it out, right, Aderica? Okay, thank you. Aderica's so awesome, y'all. She's so wonderful to work with. Just just wanted to give her her flowers. She is awesome and John is too.
I joined a great team. Thank you.
So be looking for that from her, and then we'll go from there and try to get it to where everybody is able to attend because it's holidays, and you know you want to be with your families. I want to be with my family, you know. So we'll figure it out and make it work. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you so much. Y'all enjoy the rest of your
Bye.
day. Bye. Oh, wow. Okay. Everybody left real quick. Everybody left real quick.
Yes, yes. They were like, we're done. I
Yep.
love, oh, let me stop sharing.
Oh, wait. Let me turn it off. Let me stop the recording. Wait a minute.